group of would-be prospectors composed of John Helstone, John Wright, William Thomas, and Gilbert Rennie left London, Ontario on the 15th of May, 1862. Wow. I suppose where they came from and how they came to Edmonton is of no real never mind to us, 'cause true story, didn't even start until they encountered the Wendigo. To understand all this, you must first know what a Wendigo is. I guess, truth be told, this is really a story of the Wendigo. The natives in these parts believe in many things, several spirits of which you find both good and terrible, and the Wendigo is possibly the worst. It will find you, follow you, wear you down, finally possess you. This type of spirit, it said, causes a man to not only kill people, but to eat the bodies of his victims as well. The natives told their children how to watch for the Wendigo, and should they ever encounter one, they must run for their lives and seek safety among other people. For the Wendigo only hunts in isolation. Any of you ever been alone in the woods and felt like something was watching you? Heard a single branch break around you, but nobody's there? Find yourself alone in the forest at night, seeing things in the shadows? That is the Wendigo. Many tribes would put a man out of his misery to protect his family and friends from the possessing Wendigo, and with this understanding, you can better appreciate what the Rennie Party faced as they headed towards Fort George. Late in the season, well, this time of year, they knew they were the last people to travel. If they were under any confusion on this fact, a large number of people told them to wait before they continued. Perhaps it was their pride that made them believe they could beat the odds, or lack of money to wait until the next season to continue. Whatever their reason, the decision to press on sealed their fate. It wasn't far from here where our story begins. Actually, just around the corner, around that riverbend. A series of events that make them easy prey for the spirits of these very woods. I'm sure any of you who look out into that river there, you understand that the water has a mind of its own. Spirits of an entirely different nature will work those rapids down there. Think about this for a moment. You're paddling down the river, and you know you need only to paddle hard to get through, but you stop moving forward. You stop paddling to allow the water to push you backwards. But your canoe just sits still, unable to push forward. River holding you fast. All the water around you deathly cold. There they sat, in a boat no larger than 2 doors, barely holding the 5 men as they struggled to break free of those waters. Trapped like mice in that tiny space, exposed to the weather and wind as it began to snow, barely able to move, with only jerky to eat. On the second day, desperation caused them to attempt to get to shore in the second canoe. Overburdened by supplies, it was hard work for Helston, William, and Wright to climb onto it before it was cut loose of its tether. And the load was too heavy and the water too treacherous. The canoe dumped all of its supplies and all 3 men into the river. Hellstone and William were lucky and managed to climb onto the remaining canoe, and they were soaked to the bone in freezing wind. And Wright, wow, he was even worse off. He got washed down the river until he managed to struggle onto shore. Freezing, alone, he walked all the way back. And the Wendigo followed him. On the shore across from the canoe, many attempts were made to get a fire lit, but to no avail. Frozen fingers and water-soaked matches prevented any source of warmth as the frozen men shivered. It was on the 3rd day that makeshift rope made of moose skin was finally tied to the shoreline by Wright, allowing the other 4 men to swim the frozen waters to the shore. It was the last Saturday in October, 31st, All Hallows Eve. They huddled together in shelter in a nook off the rocks along the side of the river, shivering through the night. The following morning, they finally started a fire with gunpowder. not in time to save Hellstone and Thomas from their blackened, frostbitten feet. They sheltered there for several days, finally managing to retrieve their canoe, but they were unable to continue. The weather and the environment was wearing on them, eating away at them, and the Wendigo waited. The provisions were running low, and the party was dying a slow, cold death. With options limited, a desperate plan was made. After much arguing, it was decided that Gilbert and William Rennie would go for help. On the 5th of November, they set out with a rifle, some ammunition, and a single meal of fat. They planned for the worst, 10 days of supplies for the 3 men, and it would take only 5 days to return with help from Fort George. Now, think of how that would feel, leaving your friends and your brothers to slowly die in the snow, walking in the winter of the 1800s where snow was often above your waist, and the weather dipped down to minus 40 degrees for weeks at a time. The snow and the weather tricking your mind into seeing things that weren't there. Sounds of the wind howling like a madman in the storms. Sounds in the forest around you as you walk through the night to save the lives of your loved ones, knowing in the back of your mind you will fail. Such as the attack of the Wendigo. If only it had actually followed them on their journey. 28 days it took them to force through the weather to Fort George. What would you have done? Your brother run out of food 18 days ago, alone in some of the worst weather the country had to offer. When you finally arrived somewhere that could give help, nobody listened. Surely dead by now, said some people. It's too bad of weather to actually go help them, said others. Now the brothers knew. No help was to be had in the desolate wilderness, save that provided by the Wendigo. While it is important to know what became of the survivors of the Rennie Party, I tell you only this much, so you understand how long it had been, what the other 3 faced before them when they finally came to the realization that all their food was gone. Flames died down, all their shivering had stopped. What must it have been like to be them, sitting around a dying fire, dying and not being able to stand the hunger, looking out into the trees during the day, hearing snap as a branch breaks, hoping it's your rescuer, only to realize that there's nobody there. In the dark and the firelight, realizing the person across from you is weakening and dying, the moment in time that you recognize the simple fact that your friend is meat. Meat that can feed you and keep you alive. Can you imagine what they were thinking, peering around the firelight at other people? Who do you think is the weakest? Which one of you is going to go first? Sounds in the woods at night make you think someone's sneaking up to kill you in the dark. Every snap of the fire warning you of impending doom. The moment it happens, you know it's necessary. It surprises you that it happens so fast. The knife flying through the air, sticking just under the armpit, digging deep into the lung. Several more stabs into the back until the world goes completely black. And you realize that you did it. It wasn't anybody else. How long do you think you would be tearing at the flesh of your fresh kill before you realized that it was once human? It's your friend. This must be how the last 2 members of the Rennie Party had felt. How long do you honestly think one body could last? Seated across from one another, they must have known it was only a matter of time. Sound. That's it. Around the dwindling fire was like a game of poker. To the death. Their eyes locked, muscles tense. Which one of them was going to act first? Ah! Truth be told, the local natives happened upon the camp and found a pile of bones neatly picked clean and the body of a second man partially eaten. By all accounts, it would appear that the 3rd man was killed for being a Wendigo. It was on this property. So the question we're left with, did the Wendigo win? Next time you're walking alone in the woods, think, just a cracking stick? Is it a passing shadow? Is it something more? Now you too know the dangers of the Wendigo. So when y'all are wandering the property at night, keep your eyes open. You might just see something that isn't just a shadow. Hope y'all enjoyed that.